You're enjoying Racing World. It's brought to you by Perspective Group. It's your global motorsport podcast show brought to you in conjunction with Race Control Magazine.
Welcome to this somewhat special edition of Racing World. It's the month of May, just about to head to the airport. Got to get on that plane and get to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, that's for sure. So we're out of here today, but had the chance to just get this one extra episode out for you, as promised. Very, very special. A look back at the 1987 Nissan Mobil street race in Wellington. But just before that, let's just recap everything Indy. So, big announcement, 4 people suspended from Team Penske for the next 2 events. So 2 races that they won't be there for, including Tim Cindric, the team manager. So very big call from Roger to do this, but one, I think he was under political pressure to do so, and has to be seen to be doing at least partly the right thing. So will it impact the teams, particularly those of Newgarden and Will Power, because they've got team members that are affected by this? Coming into Indy Grand Prix and then the 500? In some ways yes, in some ways no. Strategy wise yes, car preparation no, because that will have already been done. So, and then on-track performance, well, only time will tell on that, and that kind of falls more into the driver's hands anyway. But I think strategy will play a big part. Cindric been on that sideline for a long time doing strategy. It'll be hard to not have him around. Will it affect momentum and maybe mindset for Newgarden particularly? It's got to play on him. Will Power, I think, is on a roll at the moment. He can fight above it. And the good thing for New Zealand viewers that are watching this is Scott McLaughlin stays cleanly out of all of this. So that's the latest on the Penske Gate, as we call it. And I'm sure there is more to come, and we'll find out more when we hit Indianapolis in just a couple of days from now. And we'll be able to report pretty much daily for you from there. The other news, of course, is it is still looking like there will only be 34 cars, not the 35, with nothing happening with the Able Motorsport car at the moment. I would not ever rule out something happening. We've seen last minute deals transpire before. We know the engine's there. We know the car's ready. It's just a funding issue. So let's wait and see on that one as well. But let's not muck around anymore on this episode. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, because you might have been lured into this, this is our weekly show that we cover most things motorsport. I had the opportunity while cleaning out my late father's archive, if you like, recently to find highlights of the 1987 Nissan Mobil street race, one that I personally actually worked on, so that's really starting to show my age. But boy oh boy, those events in Wellington were something magic. So I had the chance to do this. I've clipped this up for you. Hope you all enjoy it. It's a look back at what was New Zealand's greatest motor race in way before V8 supercar time, but very much the trendsetter for things to come. And hopefully I can find some more and we can share those over the coming weeks and months with you all. But here it is, 1987 Nissan Mobil from downtown Wellington.
Mobil 500, they are racing, and it's Georgie Fury of Talmalmo, New South Wales, gets the shot. Here comes Brock down on the inside of Armin Harner. Harner trying to close the gate on him, but Brock takes over second. Harner is now third. Wide is Perkins. Inside goes Cross. Round the outside goes Gunnar Anderson in the Volvo, and they have all managed to just about get through the first corner without any troubles at all. But it's George Fury who'll lead them. Brock still in second. Harner followed by Crosby, Perkins, Gunnar Anderson. Then, of course, Jim Richards, and sitting in behind him, Stephen Soper.
Well, a good clean start. They've all got away. Excellent to see that there was no problem on that first corner. And now they settle down to race pace.
I believe the interest in the race here is between Harner and Peter Brock. Brock has opened the gate. Silly move that, Peter. That lets Harner through on the inside. Caught one out and one back. That drops him to third. Now we'll see whether or not all the might and all the horsepower of the XJS V12 Jaguar can pull back that little Nissan Turbo Skyline. Larry Perkins and trouble. Gunnar Anderson. At car number 15, Graham Bowkett. They have touched an incident up there, and we also have Tony Longhurst. And I tell you what, Tony has been in just about every episode of the war this weekend.
Yeah, Neil, we were running in about a 4 or 5 car formation. I think a Volvo, Nissan, Charlie O'Brien and myself. And we're going through the right-hand sweeper before we got to the bridge. The Volvo's wheel fell off. It careered straight into the arm co, bounced out, collected the Nissan, so there was a couple of cars spinning. And I just sort of scraped, actually I got through very well, took the front of the car. It appears that it's bent something in the suspension. We had 2 punches, and hopefully it won't take them much longer.
But here's our leader, Georgie Fury, in the little Nissan Skyline, seemingly in control of this race the way he wants to be. This is a familiar sight to Australians. They saw this happen in touring car rounds, very sideways there through the gate. George is doing something a little bit harder than he's ever done before here. He's determined to hold on for his sponsors and for the sake of the race and keep that lead. Remember that if he can build up a lead.
This was George Fury getting past Bob Barry and Chris Heyer. The number 53 Fiat Abarth 130. He went wide to get around them and then oversteered just a little out of that corner, getting close to the Armco but managing to pull it off and getting the position.
This is the hairpin that some of the drivers have been complaining about. It's sort of almost like a funnel. 3 cars wide going in and 1 coming the other side. And Crosby now heads round towards the stricken Nissan Skyline of Ken Beja. There it is, parked in the corner. A very, very expensive barrier, that's for sure. But we certainly hope that as the race goes on, the tyres come down on the circuit. It gets a little bit more slippery, but it's not used as a buffer. But a great shame there for the Bajan Balcott car, the new look Windows Nissan that was going so well yesterday in practice. John Harvey a little bit closer now, moving in on Peter Brock. Crosby having that small lead of his taken away by 2 or 3 car lengths. Grand little battle going on here between these 3 very experienced Commodore men.
And now down in the pits, Alan Grice, who's had troubles already during this race. He's in the pits with Neil Crompton.
Peter, it's been a week of trouble for Alan Grice. The car's parked at the backside of the circuit. What happened?
Broke a tail shaft right in the middle of the spline where the old story, we've never ever done it before. And it was a new one also.
Is that likely to have come out of the accident over the last day?
I suppose you've got to in the end put it down to that. You'll never ever know, but one of the 2 thumps that it's taken has probably put some sort of a hairline crack in there, I guess, but it hasn't happened to us before. We regard it now. It used to be our weak link, and like all weak links, we've fixed it up so well that we started to regard it as our strong point.
We've got a Sierra in trouble. Not an uncommon sight. They are known to go away and sulk after about half an hour into a race. This would be the Medecky Hall car. So we've got a lot of smoke from the right rear. In fact, it was got the car problem. Although the axles come loose, so the wheel is hopping around. So maybe a touch of a curb, broken a hub, broken a support point. And he's going to try and make it back to the pits and see what can be done.
Now, if Walkinshaw decides that he needs to drive a little defensively, it's too late. He's passed Jim Richards up under Walkinshaw. That's superb driving. And now Soper will take some incentive from that and see if he can get up with Tom Walkinshaw as well. He's closed the gap and come with Jim Richards.
We'd have to imagine that's a brake problem on Major Tom, Tony.
Here's the replay for us. And there's Jimmy Richards going down straight beneath Tom Walkinshaw, takes the spot away and beckons Steve Soper to do a little more of the same.
Let's see what Steve Soper now in the Sierra can do behind Walkinshaw. He will have taken certainly some heart from the fact that Jim Richards got by that easily.
There's Richards going through, coming down to the hairpin. Now we'll look at the dice back behind. Here comes Soper down on the inside. Sorry, Tom.
Certainly, I think that's conclusive, Mike. It certainly seems to be a brakes problem.
The other thing that you could take from that, Tony, is that Tom's not even making it a contest. He's leaving the gap wide open so that the people can get through without a fight. The acceleration rate, the engine sound is still good. The turn-in, the cornering speed still looks good. So it's just stopping those 1,450 kilos. Here we go, Stephen Soper. Nicely up the inside. Tom leaving plenty of room. Soper to turn in. Hasn't even got to go too wide out. Not a problem. And away to go.
Tom Walkinshaw comes to the pits in the car number 51, the Jaguar XJS. He's got a left rear tyre problem. You can see the crew working on the back of the car. as a normal precaution in a pit stop, the team will put at least one churn of fuel in to perhaps save a stop later in the race. But quite obviously, the tyre that's come off the car has quite graphically overheated. 19.5 seconds have gone now. Tom Walkinshaw is out of the car. Wyn Percy is in the car, the man that battled for last year's European Touring Car Championship. Andy Morrison, the team manager, standing on the side of the car controlling. Daily Car leaves the pits in a time of 34.1 seconds and a very, very professional stop from TWR. Remember the stirring we gave the Wellington weather? We said it was cold, windy, and it was going to be a wet race. It hasn't turned out that way. In fact, it's quite warm. The surface of the road is much hotter than people predicted. One man that was caught out was Tom Walkinshaw, and Tom, that Dunlop tyre became rather stripped much earlier than I guess you would have expected.
Yeah, we're showing some signs of duress.
That's an understatement. Tom, were you surprised at the hot pace early on with the leaders?
No, it wasn't really very fast. We knew that it was going to be difficult in the beginning, so we decided one car would try and cover the leader, and we would just keep our other car out of trouble, because you couldn't come through from 10 up to the front. So things were just fairly well the way we were expecting up to now, except for the problem with the tyres, which meant we were about a second slower than we were expecting for about 20 laps there.
Oh, and we have a major incident with car 32, the Pine Pack Mustang, and it certainly looks in a sorry state. This particular one is the one that Robbie Francevic is sharing with Bruce Anderson. And the helmet's off. It certainly does not look good news, Tony Palmer.
Yeah, bad luck for that team. They certainly had hope for an improvement, having Robbie Francevic in as the co-driver with Bruce Anderson.
Ouch.
The other one, identical, being run by Wayne Anderson and Stuart Robertson. That's not in a particularly good position at the moment. Obviously, it's going to stay there.
Once again, along the waterfront area, we pick up our race leader via our helicopter, showing just how tight this circuit is. Sometimes with the cars turning from left to right-hand turns, you don't really get the layout of the circuit. But from the air, you see just how tough this course is on man as well as machine. I think you'd agree with that, Lou.
Well, for sure, this circuit is an absolute killer, and as we've already seen from the likes of Graham Crosby this morning or Wayne Wilkinson really, in the warm-up session, one mistake and you have a major problem. And as I say, this race is 4 hours long. They have to conserve their cars, they have to conserve their tyres, and as I say, they just have to be there when that checkered flag comes down.
Of course, that's not the way they run touring car races in Europe. Over there, the rules are that you start off as quickly as possible, and if it looks like it's going to break down, you blow it up.
Well, I don't know. I think that the approach to this race, you know, we've had a couple of drivers critical of the circuit, but let's keep in mind the only drivers who have been critical of the circuit are the ones who have bent motor cars on it. It's the same set of rules for everyone. All those who are still out there running will be all smiles and very complimentary about it. It is a street circuit. It's different from a natural racetrack, and you have to drive it accordingly. And, you know, for others to jump out and start bad-mouthing the racetrack, I mean, nobody asked them to come. Here's Tim Slako, Kiwi by birth, and settled now in Western Australia in the Think Pink Rover Vitesse, sponsored by Alf Barbagallo Cars of Western Australia. Having a good scrap here, let me tell you. That's, in fact, if it is Tim at the wheel, but he enables the Jag to go through. Here's Graham Crosby, car number 6, coming into the pit area. This will be a critical stop for Graham.
It's about 7 minutes ahead, Mike, of his scheduled pit stop, but that's pretty close. The car remaining on the ground. They're not changing the tyres on this, which is quite a surprise. Topping it up with fuel, up goes the bonnet, so this spells a problem for Crosby, there's no doubt about it.
We appear to have a fairly hot running engine. The problem being that, you know, when you're following somebody really close, you've got no cooling because of the amount of air that they drag behind you.
Now Peter Brock has moved into second place, with Larry Perkins having pitted. Obviously, Brock is going to have to pit shortly as well, around the scheduled time for a pit stop. The race has been running 1 hour and 25 minutes, and the order is Fury, Brock, John Harvey, then Crow and Richards, then Soper, and then Perkins. After that pit stop, he's dropped back just a little, but on new rubber, he'll be out there on good lap times and pulling back those places as quickly as he possibly can.
All right, so it's George Fury in the Nissan Skyline with a commanding lead over Peter Brock, who's now moved up into second place. But we suggest that the Holden dealer Team Commodore, car number 05, is not far away from the first of probably 2 pit stops.
He's on his way in right now, actually. We'll be looking for a very quick stop here. The tyres will definitely be off, and it will be a driver change. Moffat will get in here. But this is a pretty important one for Peter.
Okay, let's watch the action then of Peter Brock's crew. There's the change with Moffat getting in as Peter Brock gets out.
Yes, a little bit of... No, it's okay. It's okay. Now there'll be going to be a lot of interest in those tyres, because what they may be finding is that the tyre they're actually running will be... They'll be able to go softer later in the day, or if there's been a problem, they can go up a compound. But this is a very important tyre.
Come under 16.
Looks like a smooth change over here. The car down off the jacks.
Now there's a problem there because Harvey's right in behind him. They haven't been able to get onto Harvey. He's just had to wait for Brock to get out of the road, and that's a problem. That would indicate to me that there's either been a foul up in calling him in. That's unlikely. More than likely, he's had a cough round the back of the circuit and he's run out of fuel and he's just had to come in.
Yes, because you'd never put that kind of pressure on a pit crew to do 2 changes on in 2 cars in the space of what, 30 seconds?
No, they've got specialists to do each of the job on both cars, so it's certainly unplanned. I would suggest that he's run out of gas.
And here comes the pit stop, the vital pit stop for the Nissan Mobil 500 race leader George Fury, and there's the man that's about ready to take over from him, 21-year-old Glenn Seaton. The car comes into the pits, team manager Fred Gibson, and the crew go to work. Most of the PJ Nissan pit stops look so laid back and they're so fast, everyone knows exactly what to do.
Good work with the guns. Tyres all fitted and still waiting for the last drops of gas to go in as they clean the windscreen. A few bugs on the windscreen, the bonnet's up. Just check what it is that they're looking at there. We've got a stopwatch on this pit stop. Bearing in mind the quickest we've seen so far was a 35-seconder from Peter Brock, and they're already over 40 seconds. Well, you know that when the mechanics have got spanners in their hands and the bonnet's open, that they've got some kind of problem. And this is a drastically slow pit stop. They've lost the lead now to Trevor Crowe. 3 minutes and 10 seconds have gone in this pit stop. We'll keep the watch on it for you. Far too long in the pits, and even if they get back out there now, they're going to have to run on such pace that it's going to be very, very difficult for them to get back to get into that lead. They're losing seconds here all the time, and it's just gone again.
Meantime, Alan Moffat in car number 05 has managed to pass Stephen Soper, so that will now move Moffat up into second behind Jimmy Richards in car number 31. And here is the race leader. Jimmy Richards in for his pit stop. Trevor Crowe ready to take over the car. We're keeping the time gap to see whether or not Moffat can go across the strike, and he does. So that should theoretically put Moffat in number 05 back in front. Whether or not he takes the others with him on the way through, no. Stephen Soper is coming in for his pit stop at this very moment. Neville Crichton will take that car over. So everything happening. Oh, the marshal stepping almost out in front. Crowe takes over the car. He goes back in. And at this stage of the race 05, it would be Alan Moffat who has gone through to take over the lead in the race.
And just a few moments ago, we had the rather ungainly sight of David Parsons in the Perkins-Parsons Commodore, having digged the wall, limping around the circuit and into the pits. I think he's only just got as far as the pits, with the guards rubbing both front and rear on the right-hand side of the car there. As you can see, not doing the tyres a lot of good. We imagine not doing the suspension components a lot of good either. Managing to limp back to the pits, and we gather that they'll haul that out with the odd crowbar and hammer and try and have it back and running as soon as possible.
Not a mark on the Mobil dealer team car, the 05 car, and Moff just picking his way through the traffic. And I suspect he's doing what Tom Walkinshaw says is a prerequisite of street racing. You have to think about 2 corners ahead. You have to remember that there was a little bit of stuff growing on the side of the circuit, which next time around might be on your line. And that is what is the real essence of a top-class endurance driver.
I take that point, David. In fact, some laps before, we noticed David Parsons out of the hairpin getting very crossed up, very sideways, very macho. But of course, once you cut one of these things loose, you've only got concrete on one side and steel Armco on the other. You just can't bounce off and can hope to go racing. That's why this guy is up in front and leading. He mightn't be absolutely spot on as far as times of Peter Brock. But I'll tell you, as I said earlier in this telecast, at the end of the race, the car won't have a mark on it, and Alan Moffat will still be circulating at the same time.
Oops. Longhurst last year, and once again we have the Sofa Crichton Sierra back in the pits.
Left front wheel missing. That seems to be a bit of a Sierra problem also. Sometimes they hit the wall, sometimes they fall off. They don't seem to mind how they do it really, but the end result is the same.
We're looking now at the leader of the 1600 to 2.5 litre class. That's the Alfa Romeo GTV6 of Gelson and French.
And coming up behind them, very, very quickly indeed, coming from nowhere, in fact, the BM 635. Trevor Crowe getting a little sideways coming out of that turn.
We've got the Trevor Crowe car in trouble. In fact, Trevor Crowe has stopped at the exit of Strathmore Elbow, and gone is the one chance for New Zealanders to see this car win the Nissan 500. Mike Raymond, you were saying if you were team manager for Mobil Holden dealer team, you'd be bringing in Alan Moffat at this point, knowing that there's a little bit of a drop-off in the times there. 41.23 for Alan Moffat. Tyres might be getting into a bit of trouble. So that is actually quite a deficit. I mean, if we compare the last laps, and there is a Jag with a locked wheel. Now, is he in brake trouble? Is he in tyre trouble? The pace that he's pulling, certainly we would expect to have the odd lockup, but doesn't seem to be running amiss from that.
Alan Moffat into the pits for a tyre change and to put Peter Brock back in the car, charged to finish.
Almost an identical situation to last year. Here comes Alan Moffat. He's done very well for the Mobil Holden dealer team here at the streets of Wellington this afternoon. Holding a commanding lead. Peter Brock steps back into the car.
And they've only got about 10 minutes to run. So it's looking like a fairly comfortable sort of a cruise at the moment. Peter Brock, of course, won't get in and cruise.
Crew very well drilled. They've gained a tremendous amount of expertise. Beautiful stop there by the Mobil Holden dealer team.
Less than 30 seconds for the stop. Looking at the Jaguar pits, obviously waiting to see if the Armin Hana, Denny Holm can make it back to the pits. Seemed to be a tyre problem or a brake problem. Getting very sideways at a number of points on the circuit and eventually getting so sideways it pointed the other way, which is where it has been parked. So the pits can wait and wait. I don't think that car's going anywhere in the meantime.
Here's Harvey down on the inside. They race it out door handle to door handle, and Harvey comes from behind and now picks up second spot in the Nissan Mobil 500. Peter Brock, the race leader, teammate Harvey into second, and Glenn McIntyre in the State Coal BMW now placed third. Things are looking good for the Holden dealer team. And I think we've had a major accident on the bridge. We have one car that's stranded in the centre of the bridge.
In fact, the track could actually be nearly blocked.
They're pushing the car back and off to the left. I detect a little BMW.
Looks like the Longhurst Bryce car is in trouble. In fact, that's Bill Bryce getting out of the car.
Back through the field.
Well, Win Percy now has moved up into third position in the Jaguar. He's put Glenn McIntyre back into fourth.
And there's only 7 seconds separating them.
He's making a big charge, this man. Oh, getting a little bit sideways there under brakes, just coming over one of the numerous bumps in this Wellington street circuit.
There's Tom Walkingshaw and Andy Morrison. Harvey, though, still hangs on, though, as Win Percy applies a lot of pressure. We'll get the acceleration out of here. Harvey closes the gap. They come up on a slower Alpha as they head up into the top bend. Up and balk two.
Nice little gap there gained by Harvey, but no. The little car, the Alpha one out of the way. And a turn of fist wave from John. But he's got it. Can he hold it down the straight here? I doubt it. The XJS will hook top gear and go blowing by.
Let's hope the brakes hold up for Win Percy, and they have, and he's passed it into second place.
Magnificent effort. Magnificent drive from Win Percy. There's race leader Peter Brock, car number 05. Uh-oh.
The big cat's in trouble. When Percy's slowing, very, very slow. Is he going to park behind Trevor Crowe in the deck car park?
Waving his hands off the wheel. There's obviously a problem there. I think that the dream come true is on its way back again for the 05 and number 3 Mobil Holden cars.
Closing stages through Strathmore Group turn. Coming back onto the dock area again, Peter Brock and car number 05, John Harvey and number 3, leading the Nissan Mobil 500 towards the checkered flag. Glenn McIntyre running third, not too far back behind them as they come onto the finishing straight, coming into view with all the press photographers and of course a huge crowd here in the streets of Wellington for the finish of the 1987 Nissan Mobil 500. And here they come, the boss, Brock, 05, John Harvey and car number 3, coming up for the finish of the race. Time has run out, the checkered flag is at the ready, and Peter Brock will lead teammate John Harvey across the strike. They win it perfectly for the Mobil Holden dealer team, and third place goes to Glenn McIntyre and Charlie O'Brien, Stay Cold BMW. Well done, Mobil Holden dealer team.
Pretty awesome stuff, really. There's some names in there that legacies of the sport, that's for sure. Peter Brock, Alan Moffat, and of course, great to see a very young Neil Crompton in amongst the mix as well. Crompo is a very good friend of mine and spent much time with him along with his counterparts in Australia. Of course, Greg Russ living here in New Zealand now. Got a lot of time for Rusty and we hang out a lot, but there's some real archival footage in there, and boy oh boy, wasn't that a great event. And it just got bigger and bigger, and of course the touring car, the World Touring Car event was even bigger, and that's the one I'm trying to find for you all now because I know I've got that hiding around somewhere. But anyway, thanks very much for watching Racing World. Got to fly, got to get to the airport. We'll see you in a couple of days' time from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the greatest race there is, the 108th run-in of the Indy 500 presented by Gamebridge.